Hi YouTube, today we're going to be getting this laptop running faster, quieter and cooler. Roll the intro. Okay everyone, so here we have a HP Pavilion G6 laptop. This is around 6 years old. It is a fairly good specification even by today's standards. It is a quad-core AMD A8 CPU. It has 8 GB of DDR3, and originally it did come with a 1TB hard drive, but I've since upgraded that to a 256 GB SSD. The only problem with this laptop is that it's running very warm and very loud, and off the back of the temperatures, the laptop does seem very sluggish, so I do believe that it is thermal throttling. So I have already pre-installed CPU-Z on here, so we'll just have a look at the specifications just to double check that everything is as it should be. Yep, so as I said, an AMD A8 CPU and 4 cores, 4 threads, and the memory is DDR3 and we have 8 GB. Okay. So everything there seems to be okay. Let's open up hardware monitor. Now this is not really doing a lot of processing at all at the moment. This is almost a clean installation. So if we have a look at the temperatures of the laptop at the moment, we're running about 50 degrees at idle, which seems very extreme. Same with the package temperatures for the CPU. We're around about 51, 52. That seems to be mirroring this temperature up here. And then as we scroll down, if we have a look at the GPU, obviously the GPU is on the same die as the CPU. We're around the same temperatures here. And as you can see here, the CPU core clock is essentially not really doing a lot at all. It is just sitting there idling. There is nothing running in the background apart from these two programs. Okay, so if we just jump back on to CPU-Z, I'll click on bench, and what I'll do is I'm just going to stress the CPU very quickly. I'm not going to keep it on too long just in case the temperatures do go through the roof. So as you can see now that the CPU has already jumped up to the late 70s. We'll just leave it running for a few more seconds. Right, we're into the early 80s. We're now at the mid 80s. Yeah, the closer this gets to 90 degrees, I'm going to stop it. So we're on 88, 89. Yeah, if I just take my microphone off me for a second, and I'm going to put it next to the fan. Yeah, that's quite bad actually. Right, so we'll just stop that there a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to power this down, and I'm going to take the back off. And what we're going to endeavour to do is we're going to go through and we're going to clean up any fans that may have dust in, any of the vents, ports, heat sinks, get all the dust out, get them nice and clean, and then also, if we can, we're going to reapply some thermal paste between the heat sinks and the CPU and the GPU. As I've said, this is around about 6 years old, maybe a little bit older, and obviously over time thermal paste does dry out and it just loses its thermal conductivity. Okay, so the first thing I always recommend to do when working on a laptop is always remove the battery. Now, a lot of laptops do have a built-in battery that you can't remove or replace without taking the back off. So once you take the back off the laptop or the bottom off the laptop, normally there is a connector to the battery. Disconnect that straight away because we don't want to have any sparks flying. On this particular model, all we need to do is slide this slider across and it pretty much ejects the battery like so. So there we go, we're safe to work on the laptop now. Now around the bottom of the laptop there are lots of little holes here. These are all Phillips head screws. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly whiz around that, remove all the screws, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the bottom off the laptop. Okay, so eventually I did get the motherboard out. Did have to take out a lot, and I do mean a lot of screws. This is all that's left of the chassis at the moment with the screen. We have the palm rest, we have the keyboard, we have the RAM, we have the hard drive, and we also have the optical drive. We had to take all of that out to get to this motherboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of these just to the side for the moment, and then I will take off the heatsink and fan assembly and give you a better angle of those. Okay, so let's just remove the heatsink and fan assembly. So there's 4 screws holding this down here, so I'll just take them off. I haven't shown how to dismantle the laptop. There are teardown videos on this particular model on YouTube, so if you just Google HP Pavilion G6, and I think it's -2000, you should find the correct video to take this particular model apart. It is a bit of a nightmare to take apart. I have worked on a lot easier laptops in the past. Okay, so that is loose. We'll just disconnect the fan power connector there. Okay, so the actual heatsink plate is now loose. Let me just see if there's anything holding this on. It doesn't seem to be. It might just be sticky tape. Yep, just sticky tape. There we go. So that's peeled off quite nicely. So as you can see, the thermal paste has pretty much dried up. That doesn't feel damp or squidgy at all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol and a piece of kitchen towel, and I'm going to clean off here and here, and then I'm going to get this paintbrush here and basically just give this a good dust out. Normally I'd use compressed air, but unfortunately I don't have any at the moment, so it doesn't look too clogged in there, but I'm just going to clean the fan blades. Even the slightest layer of dust on the fan blades will reduce its aerodynamics and efficiency, so we'll just give that a bit of a clean up with a brush. Okay, so that's the CPU all cleaned up and also the actual plate for the heatsink. So what I'm going to do is replace those now once I've put some thermal paste on. My personal choice for thermal paste is Arctic MX4. So I'll provide a link for that if you wish to purchase any from Amazon in the description below. And we're just going to put a little splodge right in the middle. We don't need a lot for this because it is a very small die. And then what we need to do now is place this on gently right in the center and press down with even pressure so it spreads out nice and evenly. And what I'll do is I'll just start the thread on one corner and go to the opposite corner. And then just keep going until it stops. You don't need to over tighten this at all. Just keep going until it stops. These screws are spring loaded to apply the pressure. So you don't need to be forceful with them. Sorry, the camera's gone slightly out of focus. Okay, so that's all back in position now. So all I need to do is connect the power cable back for the fan and then try and assemble this all back together, and hopefully I'll have no odd screws left. Okay, so we're all back together now. Everything seems to be working okay from what I can see from just booting up. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to jump into hardware monitor. The reason why is the fans are very quiet compared to normal. And as we can see here, thermals 37 degrees. Just come down to the package. Yeah, we're hovering around 37 degrees. It's going up to 40, 51. Yeah, so it is floating around a little bit, but we have made a drastic reduction in temperature by just cleaning the fan and replacing the thermal paste. We can see that the processor, although is not running fully at 100%, it was boosting then just up to 2.8, we're at 2.3. So yeah, it is bouncing around. It's probably still loading a few things in the background as I have literally just booted this up. But apart from that, everything seems to be working nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to load up CPU-Z, and I'm going to use that just to stress the CPU now and see where the temperatures creep up to. Okay, so we'll just go to bench and we'll go to stress CPU. Okay, so the CPU is now being run at 100%, as we can just see here. Now the fan is ramping up. We're now at 60 degrees. 63. 64. So you've got to remember that this was initially going up to 90 and possibly beyond. I did actually stop it before it went beyond 90 degrees. So at the moment, this is under 70. So theoretically, we have made a reduction of 20 degrees Celsius by just removing and replacing the thermal paste and also cleaning the fans and the heat sinks. And to be honest, the fans and the heat sinks weren't really that dusty or dirty anyway. So I think we've done a fantastic job here. And just remember that you can do this too if you feel confident enough to take your laptop apart. Obviously, if it's under warranty, don't do that until it's out of warranty. And remember that you do it on your own head. So obviously, this is a risk that you take if you are not confident in doing this kind of thing. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know.